Here's your wrestling news for March 13th, 2022. And your headlines for today include what happened backstage during this week's Smackdown on Fox, huge update on Big E after suffering broken neck this week, Holland and other WWE superstars visit Big E in hospital, Big E's injury forced WWE to make last-minute changes to Smackdown, tomorrow's Raw is a make-it-or-break-it episode for WWE to have huge return, 5-year veteran of Impact Wrestling becomes latest name to leave the company, JONAH explains why match with AEW star didn't go ahead as planned this week, Hulk Hogan names 2 current champions in WWE he'd love to face before he retires for good, and more. We are kicking off today with Smackdown, which was an intense show both on and off screen. PW Insider reports that Vince McMahon was very hands-on this past Friday, even more than he usually is, and paid particular attention to the Ronda Rousey-Charlotte Flair brawl that closed the show. The segment was filmed ahead of the show and aired on a tape delay to close out SmackDown. McMahon being hands-on throughout the day led to a number of segments being changed, as the originally announced match between Queen Zelina and Sasha Banks was changed on Friday afternoon to a non-title match pitting Vega and Carmella against Banks and Naomi. By the time SmackDown aired, this match had been changed once more to see Banks and Naomi get a win over Natalya and Shayna Baszler. This week's show oversaw plenty of changes both before and during the broadcast, as WWE's Backstage chaos shows no signs of stopping as we approach WrestleMania. The most notable part of this week's SmackDown was sadly Big E's injury, as the former WWE champion suffered a broken neck after taking a suplex out of the ring. After the match, Big E was stretchered to the back, much to the concern of everyone, but we have some great news about his condition. On an update on Twitter, Big E said that the C1 and C6 vertebrae are fractured but not displaced, and since there's no damage to his spinal column, he won't require surgery. This is truly fantastic news for the New Day star, as his recovery time will be much shorter since he doesn't have to go under the knife. There's still no word on when Big E can even hope to get back in the ring, and while the former world champion will almost certainly be unable to compete at WrestleMania in less than 3 weeks' time, things could have been much worse. Since the incident, wrestlers from across many companies have shown their support for Big E, and some have gone to visit him in the hospital. According to Sean Ross Sapp, several superstars have gone to see Big E, including Holland, who delivered the suplex on this week's show. We can only imagine how bad Holland must be feeling right now, and it's commendable and a class act that he went in person to check on Big E. Sapp added that the New Day star is a beloved fella, and we'd like to send our best wishes to the former world champion as we hope for a full and speedy recovery. It's almost impossible that Big E will be at WrestleMania, where the company had a big 6-man tag team match that would have seen the New Day face Sheamus, Holland, and Butch. That's not WWE's only plans that have had to change though, as it turns out that Big E was meant to be in SmackDown's Dark match and was meant to team with Kofi Kingston and Drew McIntyre. Together, the trio would have faced Sami Zayn, Happy Corbin, and Madcap Moss, but those plans obviously had to change after the incident. Instead, the post-show main event saw McIntyre defeat Austin Theory after leveling him with a Claymore, but what the crowd saw was a last-minute call brought on by terrible circumstances. Raw news now, as tomorrow night's show is in Jacksonville, and WWE has some high hopes for the 3-hour broadcast. It's been reported that with Raw being in Jacksonville, Florida, that there's hopes that Cody Rhodes will return to build towards a WrestleMania 38 match, likely with Seth Rollins. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer explained that a lot of WWE's plans rely on Cody showing up tomorrow night, and said that if tomorrow sees Rollins start a feud with someone else, we know Cody isn't back for WrestleMania. When Ringside News asked a member of WWE's creative team about Cody's status, they were told that no one has been talking about it, but did add that when it comes to Raw, Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard, Ed Koskey, and John Laurinaitis usually keep people in the dark until Monday. Perhaps Cody and McMahon have already come to an agreement, but both sides are keeping quiet about it, and we'll only have a clearer picture of what the future holds for Cody, Rollins, and WWE after tomorrow night's potentially blockbuster edition of Raw. Over to Impact now, as Fallah Bahh has been a part of the company since 2017, but his tenure with the company has now come to an end. The two-time Turkey Bowl winner has finished with Impact, according to Fightful, after being removed from the Impact Wrestling roster in January and has been re-added to Virtual Basement's Wrestling Code video game. The report notes that in 2020, Impact asked their talent to not be part of the game, and that order hasn't changed over the past 2 weeks. Fallah Bahh is the latest name to leave, after Rohit Raju, Larry D, Ace Romero, and more let their contracts expire over the past few months, and fans should expect more turnover as part of the constantly refreshing roster. One name still with Impact is JONAH, the former Bronson Reed, who has hit a setback in his career outside the promotion. At yesterday's Warrior Wrestling event in Indianapolis, JONAH was meant to take on Lance Archer, but in an Instagram video, explained that he was unable to make the show because of awful weather up the East Coast. JONAH went on to say that he still remains in contact with Warrior Wrestling and plans to have the match with Archer down the road, but for now, fans will have to wait until these two behemoths cross paths. And we're ending today with Big Damo, formerly known as Killian Dane in WWE, who was released from the company on June 25th last year. Since his release, it's been reported that Vince McMahon just didn't get Damo's appeal, but he'll soon be making his debut for New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's been confirmed that Damo will face John Skyler at Strong Style Evolved on March 20th and will be competing on a card that'll also feature Jay White, Buddy Matthews, and fellow NXT alum including JONAH and Swerve Strickland. While Big Damo is no longer working for WWE, he said he has no plans on slowing down his wrestling schedule, and debuting for New Japan is one massive way for the Irish wrestler to make an impression. And we're ending today with Hulk Hogan, who was for decades the unquestionable biggest name in wrestling, having massive success in WWF and later WCW. In recent years, though, support for the Hulkster has diminished greatly, especially after his racist comments were made public in 2015, but the Hall of Famer still hopes to lace up his boots one last time. Speaking to the Two-Man Power Trip podcast, Hogan admitted that it's unlikely he'll ever wrestle again, citing several injuries he's accumulated over the years, but picked his dream opponents, saying, "The first one I'm trying to pick off will be Roman Reigns. Then I'd like to get to Brock Lesnar, but good God, I'd be in a wheelchair by the time I get done with that." After being reminded that he faced Lesnar in 2002, losing to the Beast via submission, Hogan quickly realized he wants no part of the reigning WWE champion. At 68 years old, the chances of Hogan wrestling are getting slimmer and slimmer by the day, but we can't count out WWE booking arguably their biggest star ever at their next Saudi event. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.